Okay, we're recording. All right, we're going to start on this project, and I'm going to scratch that. I'm going to record this little project for my own purposes. If you get any use out of it, that's fine. If not, I'm not worried about it. So, to preface this, about 4 years ago, I got back into RC cars and doing some racing, and I was somewhat surprised that even with all the advancements in the brushless motors and lithium batteries and all other things that have evolved since I did it before back in the late 80s. Back at that time in 85 to 88, we ran 1400 milliamp hour nickel cadmium batteries. We raced for 4 minutes. Fast forward to 2021, and we got brushless motors, lithium batteries, and we're running on 10 scale between 5 minutes and 7 minutes, and with the 8 scale e-buggies about 15 minutes. I asked several times, how come we're running such a short race in 10 scale? And the answers I've got were interesting. I really didn't buy most of it, but I'm working on I'm going to call it proof of concept, an endurance car. I'm just taking my old short course chassis, and I'm going through it, and I'm going to set it up to see just how long I can run laps and figure out just how long we can make an endurance event, and make it practical. Let's go over some of the reasons I was told we don't race for a longer period of time. The first thing would be the race day would be too long, because by the time you extended out the qualifiers and the mains to a longer period of time, it would take too long to get through the entire race day. That was the first one. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. A long race day, and this is stuff I've noticed from the past couple of years of going to the track and doing some racing, is you have a lot of the people that are there racing. They're not just running the two-wheel drive buggy. They're running a combination of two-wheel drive buggy, four-wheel drive buggy, some version of short course, a two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive stadium truck. They're running, 2 to 3, sometimes 4 classes, each driver. Now, at first I thought, it's because they want to run every single class, therefore they don't have to get out and turn marshal. But talking to some of these people, I found out that they're trying to get more track time. And this goes back to if we had longer races. Let's say, for example, if the races were 30 minutes instead of 7 minutes, you wouldn't have to run 3 different classes to get the same track time. You wouldn't have to run, the spare parts and all the equipment for the 3 different classes. It'd be a lot more cost effective. Had somebody bring up next one. So the batteries would be ridiculous expensive. I don't buy it. I know the the battery I run in my 2-wheel drive buggy and the battery I run in my 8-scale, they were on the bargained end of battery cost. And when I'm practicing, I can easily, with the race setup, run 15-20 minutes, and I've still got capacity left in those batteries. I haven't pushed them to see what the maximum I can get out of them, because like I said, I've got everything dialed up for the short races. But with this project, I did buy a couple of these. It was 2 of them for, I think, right at $50 shipped. So this is what I'm going to work with, and I don't see the expense of buying one of the top tier batteries, mainly because I'm going to be drawing less juice out of it, trying to make it last a little longer, get a longer run out of it. The third thing that was brought up was people would say, well, they'd be overheating their motors. Well, they've got, a lot of them run stock class, but they run the highest gear, or lowest gear, whatever you want to call it, possible. You got their fans on the motors, trying to keep them from overheating, because they're trying to get every little thing out of it in 5 minutes. Well, you slow it down, you gear it down, you're not going to be pushing that motor as hard. You turn the timing down, then you have a little bit more strategy in the long run. If you have a bad qualifying day, you having to start in the back of the pack, or a longer run, you got a better chance to pull something good out of it. Had somebody say, well, you're going to have to plan for pit stops. No, not planning for any pit stops on this project I'm working on. I don't think there should be any. You should have, your battery use, your motor use, tire wear, all that kind of stuff figured into your strategy and how you're going to run it. And I heard a lot of complaining that, well, nobody's going to want to marshal a long race. Well, I've run with the 8-scale guys, and I understand their complaint there, because for me, I like to run the electric buggy, and having to marshal a 45-minute nitro race is not fun. So the basis of what I'm working on is, I'm going to call it like desert class, because when you're running in a desert, it's you're running a long distance, you're on your own. If something goes wrong, you got to fix it to keep going. But a short set of very simple rules. As far as battery goes, a single 2S pack, start to finish, you got to use that battery. When I talk to people about, slowing down, gear down, they were talking about not being able to make the big triples, or making some of the long doubles. Well, here's another key to it. You if the track normally runs clockwise, run it counterclockwise, because the way the jumps are set up, no matter how much speed you got, you're never going to clear a double or a triple the way they're, just if you look at them the way they're laid out. So if you run it in reverse rotation, then you've got to single everything. It takes out the need for the massive horsepower. As far as the marshals go, drivers are going to have to self-marshal. Have to do it like an enduro. If you get your car, upside down or stuck, then you got to take the walk of shame to go straighten out your car, then get back up on the driver's stand to continue. Best way to simulate it, having to stop and do a repair if you break down the desert. And as far as repairs go, if tools are required for the repair, you're done, DNF. Because that way we don't want people picking up the car, running back to the pits, changing out a battery or doing something like that. So it's just simple. You snap a ball cut back on, you flip it over, get it unstuck, that type of thing. But anything beyond that, not usable. Two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive cars, they can be separated into separate classes, but everything's going to run together. So you'd have an overall winner. You got a chance of a two-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive, either one, be an overall winner. But that's just to help simulate the entire situation. Plus, if you run two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, if you run everything together, then you got one bigger race and not a whole bunch of chopped up little races. But that's the start of this project. And I'm going to document this stuff just for my own sake. So this is part one.